Welcome back, you guys, to Cerebral Palsy and Fitness podcast. I have here Corey, the host of the NDT podcast, and here's here with us to talk about, of course, his podcast and a little bit about it. And of course, I do want to mention that his podcast, I've been on it before, and we've talked a little bit about my story about cerebral palsy, and we've talked about sports and a little bit about wrestling, and today it's all about Corey himself, his story, the beginning of the podcast, how it's been being a parent with a child with a disability, and we're gonna go into a whole lot more. So welcome, Corey.
Thanks for having me, David. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Corey, it's been a pleasure. You reached out to me, I think, a few months back to have me on your show, and it was pretty awesome. Getting to be a part of a great crew, everybody asking questions. I loved how we went to each segment really fluid, and you made me feel really comfortable.
I'm glad to hear that, man. We really want to create an atmosphere where everybody feels at home, and like you're just hanging out with your friends at a campfire, at a bar, or whatever. It's very laid back, very casual. So we just try to have fun, man.
And as I forgot to mention, NDT stands for Nonsense Deep Thought Podcast. Is that right?
Absolutely, nonsense and deep thoughts. We were trying to go with the full title for a while there, but it just seemed to be too much for people to search, so we shortened it. NDT it is.
That's awesome. And I noticed that the colors are Ravens colors.
Yeah, so this is the funny misconception, man. We have a lot of people that are asking us, hey, who's the Ravens fan? Because not only do we use purple and black in our logo, we also use a raven. So the purple just came along because it worked. The color worked with what we were doing. And the raven came because Justin and I, who started the show together almost 5 years ago now,
Wow.
when we were growing up, we were very big Edgar Allan Poe fans.
Interesting. That's
So
cool.
we adopted the raven as our little mascot.
I love that. I love that. I'm surprised you guys don't. Do you guys ever like use quotation from Edgar Allan Poe to kind of wrap it into the podcast itself?
No, we don't. We haven't. We just really we wanted to get something that kind of signified the two of us and the bond that we had, as friends, and that's something we could both get behind. We both liked it, so we're like, yeah, this will work for us.
Yeah, and you guys started around the same time I did 5 years ago. So that's when I launched my podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And you know what? That's a good thing though, because not many people that start off a podcast make it this far. Like it's a crazy world right now with the podcasts and everything. Everybody and their brother has one, but you see so many people that'll start them and then they kind of just like drift off and they stop doing it. They lose the passion, they lose the interest. So to keep going after this long, I think is an accomplishment in and of itself.
Yes, and for us to keep going, even though there's times where we have like minimal views. It's like,
God, yeah.
because I trust me, I've had a few podcasts that I feel like they're great, and then they turn out to be complete duds according to the audience, and I'm like, oh, wonderful.
A lot of ups and downs, man. There's a lot of ups and downs with it. There's been a lot of moments where I'm like, what am I even doing? Why am I doing this? But I try to reflect a little bit and remember that it's not to get famous. It's just to have fun with my friends and enjoy myself and put out content that somebody will enjoy. So if I have a handful of people that enjoy what I'm doing, I'm good.
Yeah, for me it's the same. I like to have fun, engage with the audience, and bring something educational and bring something that'll uh, bring value to your life.
Yeah,
with each
that's
guest.
a good thing, man.
Because I've had people reach out to me telling me that, oh, they've been suicidal, but they've heard my podcast and they've completely changed their mindset. I've had people that are trying to start their fitness journeys, but they have no idea where to start, and they've seen my podcast. You know what? If I've seen them do all these fitness videos and these podcasts, I can do it myself. So that's what I'm for.
Yeah, you gotta love getting reviews like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and and they're like, why aren't you getting paid and stuff? Well, I believe in keeping it open. The only way I'll be getting paid is if I ever end up landing a sponsorship, and that's where these connections come in. With the wrestling business and other avenues. Um, you know.
Absolutely.
So for the podcast itself, what's been the toughest part of the journey going through it?
I think that the most difficult part about having a podcast is just getting it out there, the promotion of it, getting it heard, getting it seen. When we started out, we were audio only. And we ended up moving to video podcast and then ended up doing them live. So we've grown a lot as a podcast over the years, and I've learned a lot of different things and how to do things the way I want to do them. But still, the most difficult part is just getting it out there, getting people to watch in the first place. You have to entice them and pull them in, and it kind of sucks to me because the reviews that we get, the comments we get from people that have watched or that have joined our show is always positive. They're like, your show is amazing, we love you guys, you do a great job. But I just need people to take that chance first, and I seem to struggle with that. I seem to struggle with getting it out there and getting it to the places it needs to be seen, or to just get people to click on it. You know what I mean? That's so hard.
Yeah, I think also one of the most frustrating things about being a podcaster is you see everybody following your content and watching it, but nobody's engaging, nobody's sharing it, nobody's commenting, nobody's doing anything with it. Like, if you want us to, I mean, of course we'll keep putting out content, but if you really want us to grow, you have to share it. If you can, if you anywhere, it doesn't matter. Text it, email it, pigeon carrier it. Send a letter.
Yeah.
Tell people about it. Do anything.
Yeah, you don't have to spend money on it. I mean, you just it's as simple as clicking like and click and share, man. It's super easy to help promote and help push your favorite shows.
What's been your most favorite experience as a podcaster by far? Like, did you have a favorite guest, a favorite moment, favorite
So
episode?
this is back when we first started getting into the video format. I always try to find some guests for the show, and I took a shot in the dark one day. I was on, it was Twitter at that point, and I commented on a comedian's post. It was his name is Dave Landau, and I really like this guy. I think he's funny as hell. And I was like, hey, if you ever want to join a small podcast with a bunch of dads, who don't make money off of it, let me know. And he responded to me. He's like, hey, DM me. Okay, cool. So I did, and he ended up coming on the show,
Wow.
no charge, which is awesome because, there's a lot of people out there that want to charge you to be on your show. That's how they're going to make their money. But he came on the show. He was very humble, very down to earth, very funny. It's episode 15 if anybody wants to go back to the archives there and look. But it's Dave Landau, super funny guy. He is vulgar. Just fair warning to anybody who might go listen. Our show is rated R. We cuss a little bit. We say some things that maybe some people don't like, but we try to be natural, man. If we're not cussing, then it sounds fake. It's not organic to us.
Right. It's one of those things. You want to remain as natural and as yourself as possible, and that's what you guys have been doing and are continuing to do. Is just bring high quality entertainment and laughs and all kinds of stuff, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah. And it's great that some of these big names are actually willing to give us small content creators a chance, to grow. Like, I wouldn't have been able to land. Matt Riddle had a friend of mine, told him about my podcast and told him who I was and the kind of person I was, and then out of the blue, I interviewed him at the con with no gear, nothing. And, my audio was horrendous, but I got it, and I was extremely happy.
Yeah, that's an awesome moment for you too, man. That's really cool. I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah, same with you. It's it's one step at a time. That's all we gotta think. One step at a time. No matter how big or small, and like you said, don't give up. We've been at it
Yeah,
for 5 years and we're still going at it.
absolutely. One thing I'm really enjoying with it right now is as our show evolves, we kind of turn to different topics, right? So what's helped us recently, we've had a lot of growth recently because we started to turn towards doing a lot of local content and inviting local business owners and local entrepreneurs onto the show to talk about whatever it is that they're doing, selling, whatever they want to promote themselves. So that's worked out really well for us. We got to know quite a few people from this local area here, and it's been a lot of fun. Just hearing stories, learning about different businesses, different ventures. So I've been really enjoying that part of the show lately.
And for you transitioning into the podcast from that to, I know we kind of touched a little bit about disabilities on when I was on your show and cerebral palsy, and I think you mentioned you had a I think a daughter with a disability yourself,
Yep, I do.
and you're also a father to one. So I was wanting to ask you, what's been your experience like since you first have become a parent of a child with a disability?
Okay, so my daughter was born last year with Down syndrome. She arrived at 33 weeks. It had to be an emergency C-section. She had tracheoesophageal fistula. So what that means is her throat did not connect to her stomach all the way. It kind of formed a pocket. There was a space there, a gap. So at 3 days old, she needed surgery. So we had a rough start to life. It was definitely difficult, but she's a strong little girl. She came through it, and I tried to prepare myself for what I need, like what I should expect. As
Right.
far as growth and her learning ability with different things. So I expected to be a few months behind on everything. I was preparing myself for struggles with speech, struggles with crawling, movement, learning how to walk, eat, all of that. But I tell you what, man, this little girl is so amazing. And she is, I don't think she's very far off of where a kid without Down syndrome would be right now in her life. She's just thriving. She's doing amazing. But I definitely noticed too how much more I pay attention to that community now. I have
Right.
followed so many different pages on Facebook, on TikTok, wherever else it might be. And I'm constantly interacting with all the different posts and listening to all the different stories from the parents, from the kids themselves to even the adults with Down syndrome. There's a wide array of people with different levels of ability in their life. So I get to see all of it now. I pay attention to it. I try to interact with it just so that I can be prepared for my daughter, so that I can be the best dad that I can be for her.
Do you ever worry that when she starts school that she might face some kind of bullying due to her Down syndrome?
So right now, um, both of my older kids, they're 13 and they're 10, are homeschooled. So they're not in the public school system at the moment. I don't feel like we're going to send her to public school either, but I do worry that at some point in life she will face it. But at the same time, I plan on preparing her, just like I plan on preparing my other kids, on how to deal with those situations and to just let things roll off the skin. If it's not somebody that matters in your life, don't give it any thought, because that's the way of the world right now, man. And it's always been that way. Let's be honest. People always have a comment about something or someone, and they're always going to be negative. If you're going to think about it, if you're going to have good in the world, you're going to have evil too. It's just the law of opposites, right? So there's going to be bad people in the world. They're going to say things to you. They're going to try to do things to you. You just got to kind of like not worry about them.
Right, and it's the same thing with the healthcare system too. Is when you're because being myself having a disability, you're always facing those obstacles of like, they tell you a certain thing that you don't want to hear and it's negative, but you believe that they can do this or they can do that, but they're telling you the complete opposite, saying that they're not going to be able to, but you yourself are And I always tell this to people. You as a parent, as a guardian, anybody, you're the first line of defense for that child. And if you're not stepping up to teach that child how to advocate for themselves early on, then you're failing.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And that's something I try to touch on too when I talk to people about my stay in the NICU. I do a side project. I have another podcast that fully depends on people who are willing to step up and tell stories of their own from their own NICU time. It's called Tales from the NICU, and it's on Spotify. But when I'm on that and I talk to people, I say the biggest thing about being in the NICU is being that number one advocate for your baby. Because while the nurses and doctors are incredible, they rotate so often. You're with your baby every single day when you're in there. Hopefully you get a chance to be with your baby every single day when you're in there. These nurses, these doctors, they're always rotating. They may see something on the chart, but they don't know what you're seeing. So step up, be that advocate. Say, if you see something that seems off, step up and say it. Say, this is wrong. I noticed this, because they might not know.
Yeah, and I mean my dad and my stepmom fought for me early on when I was little. I was born a couple ounces, and doctors kept saying you're not gonna amount to anything. And next thing you know, with good support and all the help, I'm here. Being able to do this podcast and being able to interview you and being able to do what I want
Oh
to
yeah,
do. And it's all about really wanting it. Really wanting to succeed and facing the challenges head on, and that's how you become successful.
absolutely. Look at you now, man. Seriously.
That's right. And also, I don't know if you heard about the new. I saw a post on Instagram that really made me happy. This woman with Down syndrome, she became the first lawyer ever,
First
attorney
lawyer.
with Down syndrome.
Yeah, yeah.
Look,
She's a
look,
lawyer. That's amazing.
a lawyer. She started going through I think the studying the curriculum in 2019, and she's officially certified. And then what made me upset was I looked through the comments, and people were making fun of her. Like they're like, does she offer special services? Oh, she might have to, carry grilled cheese. It was
Oh my
disgusting,
god. Yeah, people are evil, man. They really are.
and
And
they thought it was funny.
yeah, it's always the people that are online that'll talk the loudest. They don't do that kind of stuff in person. It's absurd.
Yeah, and it goes to show you that no matter what disability you have, you can achieve what you want to. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. My God, man, David, I follow so many people on social media now with Down syndrome that do incredible things. The one girl is a gymnast. Like she does incredible. And there's another one who's a model, and there's a boy, I forget how old he is, but he competes in powerlifting competitions.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, these people are amazing. They're amazing. And you know what's great? They are the happiest people. They are the
Mhm.
happiest people. I told my wife, I was like, honestly, I feel like God chose us because we needed this. Like, there's just so much going on in life that, can really bring you down. And I feel like this child is going to bring our family together. She's going to,
Right.
growing up, watching her grow up, she's going to teach us about the important things in life, teach us that we have to smile and just enjoy ourselves. So, like, we needed her just as much as, we needed her as much as she needed us.
And that's the thing is when you have a good support system, you don't let those people, those negative comments bring you down.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing when you have support that believes in you.
Yeah, this kid's going to go far. I tell you what, man.
Yeah, and I mean, all Down syndrome is different. There's no one same.
Yeah.
The levels are different. I'm pretty sure. Is there a spectrum like autism for Down syndrome?
See, I don't think there's an official spectrum, not from what I've found so far, the things I've looked at, because the DNA makeup is all the same. Like it's no different. So what what makes one this way and another that way. Honestly, I think a lot of it is environment, man. I really think a lot of it is environment, like how they're
Yeah,
raised, how they grow up. Because I feel like, unfortunately, I feel like there are some parents out there who they just
give
they
up and
see,
not do.
yeah, they kind of just give up on it. They're like, all right, well, they have Down syndrome, so they're never going to do this. They're never going to do that. I don't have to teach them. They're fine to just sit there and do whatever. And it's sad to me because I have treated my daughter the same way I've treated my other two kids. She gets no special treatment. There's nothing different. I'm a little more paranoid when it comes to eating because of her whole throat surgery. Like, I got one of those anti-choking tools that looks like a little
Oh,
face
yeah.
plunger. And I keep that close by anytime she eats. But aside from that, man, like this kid can do anything. And she's a mover. She is crawling already. She's arching herself up like in a downward dog position, like she's stiffening her legs. Like, this kid wants to move. And I
Yeah,
ain't gonna stop her.
yeah. Just keep it up and know that you're doing a wonderful job. As parents and as a father. Take
Thank
pride
you.
in that.
I do, definitely. Thank you.
So, um, going from that, we were kind of talking a little bit about you know back to the podcast and some of the topics. I know you covered sports before and wrestling, and I think gaming too, right? On Twitch.
Yeah, so we started off as just the variety show, and we've got a couple different topics that we really liked to talk about, but we noticed that the topics were so different that when we start talking about video games or when we start talking about wrestling during our regular show, you tend to lose some viewers. Because there are people that come in for our variety show because they like to hear about those topics and they like to see those guests. And then you have another group of people who love to talk about wrestling that don't necessarily want to come into the other show. So we split them up. We've got the variety show, we've got the wrestling show, which is Tuesdays and Wednesdays alternating, and then we have the gaming show. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I myself, I can actually refer you a couple people that are in the wrestling business currently that I've had as guests on your show if you like, and I can send you some information.
That would be spectacular. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who has a child with I think it's autism too,
Yeah,
and he's also a wrestler, and he's phenomenal, and he's a wonderful human being, and
that's awesome.
getting to know him. He's known as the I think it's the American Hero, and so he wrestles out of Jacksonville. And
Okay.
then I interviewed another guy. His name is Six, and he's also a wrestling commentator with cerebral palsy.
That's really cool.
Good dude. He actually got me the connection with Riddle.
Nice.
We were at the same convention, and he's like, dude, who do you want to interview? He was being serious. He's like, who do you want to interview? Tell me, and I'll make it happen. He's like, I don't know. It's just I want to, I'll interview anybody, and I wasn't being picky. And he
Yeah,
went over to Matt Riddle, and he got. I'm like, dude, for real? He's like, yeah, he wants you to interview him.
that's
I'm like,
awesome.
no way. I'll say you're like, what am I gonna ask him? I have no questions. I have nothing.
I didn't prepare for this. What are you doing to me, putting me on the spot? Oh man, that's awesome though.
And then I
You
met a
got
couple.
you got to have the experience, so that's cool, man.
Yeah, and then I got to get some local talent, connections to interview too, and that's pretty cool too. And he told me this. He said, when it comes to that kind of stuff, just remember they're human just like you and I, and start small. You know,
Yeah,
no matter how small of a crowd the wrestler has, start with them because that's how you build those connections. Anybody. You know?
absolutely. It's important to support your local indie wrestlers too,
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying. I mean, like just like we're the small podcasters, they're the small wrestlers. Everybody's got to start somewhere. And I
Yeah,
tell you
like
what, they love having a platform.
yeah, like every time I have like an interview or something with someone, I try to buy their merch, whether it's a shirt, a bracelet or something, to kind
That,
of support them, and I'll wear it and I'll promote it,
that's awesome.
and I'll get it out there. Um, and and then for you, who's your dream or dream guest that you like to have on your show at some point?
Hmm. Well, let's go with wrestling show first, because
Okay.
there's
So,
one that I'd really like to get on the show that's like A-lister right now. So
right.
since I started watching again, I was drawn to this character, and I've been calling it from the beginning since I started again, and I've been calling him being a champion. I'm like, this guy's good. Like, he's gonna keep getting better, and he's gonna leave the faction he's in so that he can grow a little bit more. And that person is Damian Priest.
Oh yeah.
So I saw the documentary on him, and I started to like him even more. I was like, this guy's awesome. I love his story. I love where he came from, and I love who he is off camera. He keeps getting better and better on the mic, but he seems like a genuine guy off camera. So I'd love to be able to speak with him and just, talk about life in general, like where he thought he'd be, where he is now, what the differences are, what it's like being on the road all the time. This, the common stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and he was actually there last night in Orlando.
Was he?
Yep, he showed up after the show. Actually, they had the dark matches.
The dark
they
match?
had they had Gunther against no, it was Gunther against Jay Uso for the belt for the championship. And my buddy was like, "We should just go. We know who's gonna win." I'm like, "We gotta stay because I want to hear those chops." When he hits him with the chops. And then Damian Priest showed up at the end, and they did the Yeet segment together. That was pretty cool with the crowd.
They seem to do that a lot with the dark matches. They bring Jey Uso out a lot to help with that. And yeah, they did a dark match when I went to SmackDown earlier this year too, with the same, like, Jey Uso and Gunther. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I was hoping to see Randy. I really wanted to see Randy, but he wasn't there.
That's another guy I wouldn't mind talking to.
Yeah, he seems like a good level dude, considering where he started.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit down and have a beer with Randy Orton. That'd be dope.
Oh yeah, he'll drink a beer. Like I saw this clip of him and Cody Rhodes that went around yesterday, and he's talking to Cody, and he's like Cody's like, I got LeBron, MJ, and Randy's like, fuck LeBron, and Cody's like, oh well, somebody's really high, and then he starts talking about Wheatley, because Cody's sponsored by Wheatley vodka.
Right.
And he's like, well, you got Wheatley vodka. I want a Nutella sponsorship because I consume Nutella all the time. These 290-pound traps are made of Nutella. You can see them.
That's great. Didn't he say something along the lines of, I ate an entire jar of Nutella and gained 9 pounds before a match?
Oh yeah, he did. I read that about that too. Yeah.
That's funny. Gotta love that.
Yeah, that's what made me like him too. Like he's laid back ever since
he's funny.
And I talked about him, and I asked the Riddle about that, and I guess him teaming with Riddle was a sense of, I can finally pass the torch and be myself. I don't gotta be this uptight wrestler anymore. I've done everything. I can have fun.
Yeah, and he seems like he's really having fun with it now too.
Yeah, considering he just came back from an injury, he's in a lot of pain. He could barely do anything, and Riddle kind of saved his career in a point, where he couldn't really move. Because you would come in and take care of the lighter side of the match, the panning, or doing that RKO. It looks painful.
Yeah. Yeah, have a Gunther. Nothing catches me by surprise, or nothing catches me out of nowhere, and then he ends up getting hit with the RKO anyway the following week. Love it.
Yeah, and and then SummerSlam was a shocker with Gunther winning the belt, but I kind of expected it because they were going to go to Europe and go to Berlin.
Yeah,
and of course you need somebody with a big name and a European presence to bring about those crowds. So obviously they had to do it. They weren't going to send a Puerto Rican wrestler to Europe And what are they gonna do?
Listen, I was disappointed that Priest lost the title, but I also know he had to lose the title. That was a good moment, like because you've been waiting for Judgment Day to fall apart for a while now. I thought the whole thing was gonna go, but seeing it happen the way it did, that was pretty interesting. And to see that they did just the switcheroo, kicked out
Mhm.
Priest and Rhea, brought in Carlito and Liv. Like it was pretty good. I liked the story.
Carlito has they've wasted Carlito in that faction. And
Yeah.
I'm being honest, like he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, he seems like he's had minimal involvement in everything for years. I'm amazed that he's still in the business.
Yeah, I mean he's done really well in the Indies. Like he got himself transformed, physically. He's did really well in his matches, and he worked his way back. But it's like, you worked your way back for what?
Yeah.
He could have been the perfect representation to be champion heading into Puerto Rico, considering that his father, Carlos Colon Sr., wrestled there,
Yeah.
and you know, I think his brother, his cousin Eddie Colon, or Epico, he was known as, wrestled there in Puerto Rico too.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's like doesn't make any sense sometimes, or you could even have Priest as champion going into Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like they just sometimes they have too many stories going on that need the air, need the screen time, and they don't know what to do with the rest of the people.
And then we were just comparing like the crowds for the PLEs like yesterday with my buddy and I, and we're like the France one was insane. That was mind blowing. The
Yeah.
fact that the camera was shaking when AJ was in the ring, that was crazy.
Yeah. Those overseas fans, man, they know how to party. I tell you what. They go crazy.
Yeah, and it makes us here look like amateurs. Like you can't do that. We got to step up.
Yeah, this is like I show I showed up to SmackDown and the first thing I did was talk to the people around me and warn them. I'm like, "Hey, how you guys doing? We're the rowdy neighbors. Make sure you're loud with us."
Oh yeah, we had a couple of rowdy neighbors yesterday. Like every time we'd like see like somebody big like get in the ring, these two people at a like the whole crowd kept sitting right during Gunther's entrance, everybody else's entrance, but as soon as Roman showed up, they stood right up in front of us, and they were blocking my view, and I'm like, dude, come on, like I want to see it. Out of all the people, they had to stand up and like
Yeah.
record, and I'm like, I really wanted to see him come in because I was trying to get a good video, but I got the spear and the Superman punch, that he did
Nice.
the solo, and then when he picked up I think it's called the Ulafale or whatever
Yeah, the
that
Ulafala.
yeah. Yeah, he I think his uncle passed away yesterday too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
so sad. And not less than a few months. He has had a couple of,
Yeah.
it's so
His
sad. But
father and his uncle so close together.
yeah, yeah. I
Both
mean,
of the wild Samoans, man. R.I.P.
yep. And my buddy, the one that I told you about earlier, he actually trained with him too when
Did
he
he
was coming.
really? That's awesome.
Yeah, so he was able to do that, and um, overall, it was a great show. So I can't complain. And it was so sold out to the point where I couldn't get my scooter, like, switch the tickets to get like my scooter in. And I had a friend who had a wheelchair too. So they're like, we can't get you accessible seating, but we can hold your scooter in the chair somewhere and like safe. And we literally had to climb the stairs all the way up to our seats, and then these people had taken our seats, so we had to literally like argue with them, and like I literally went off like, those are our seats, and they don't want to move, they were being very, like uptight about it. And I'm like, you gotta move. You gotta understand that. I understand that you're here to watch a show, but so are we, and those are our seats.
Yeah, we paid for the tickets. If you don't like it, we could go ask security who
Right.
belongs in those seats, man, because my ticket right here. says that seat.
Right. And
It comes
you
down to
know,
that.
eventually they moved and we got to our seats and we enjoyed the show. And one of my buddies, he was such a trip doing a couple of the chants, and we came up with a few things like everybody was chanting OTC, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, Prilosec. And we started the Prilosec chant in the whole section. Like,
That's awesome.
people were looking at us like, what the heck are you talking about? Like OTC, Prilosec. They should have put
Jesus.
like a huge. They could have used it as a sponsorship.
There you go.
Prilosec OTC.
That's funny, man.
Yeah,
Oh man, but yeah, our crowds, our American crowds got to be a little more loud. Like, people got to understand, when you go to a wrestling event like this, you buy tickets to the show, you're now a part of the show.
Yeah.
You're a part of the show. Don't be afraid to be loud. Don't be afraid to start chants. Don't be afraid to join into chants. Like, they feed off of that. The wrestlers feed off of that. And if you're giving that energy, they are going to give that much more energy themselves. It's going to fire them up.
Yeah, and I was yelling like, that's not PG, and everybody started laughing. We're not on Netflix yet. Give it a few more months. Because Fox, they're notorious for like blackouts.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Did you see what Fox did last? Well, I don't know if they did it in your market. They did it in my market because, we're in Pennsylvania. So last Friday night, I was not able to watch SmackDown live because there was a Philadelphia Eagles preseason game on.
No, not in my market. I was able to watch it here because I'm in Florida.
So I'm like, screw the Philadelphia Eagles, man. I already dislike them because I'm a Giants fan. That made me hate them even more.
Yeah, it's
kicking SmackDown off. That's silly, man.
Yeah, that's why I hope Netflix will be a good thing for WWE going forward in a good direction.
Yeah, so Raw's going to get over there first. Then you got SmackDown moving to USA. But I think I hope the end goal would be to get both of them onto Netflix so they could have the freedom to do everything they really want to do.
And then my thing is Peacock, they're probably going to reserve it for the PLEs and for classic, content.
Yeah, to have the library, that's pretty cool. I like going back and watching some of the old documentaries and stuff.
That's why that way we can keep Peacock fresher. You can keep NXT because you can keep the reruns on Peacock. So if you can't see it live on Netflix, you can always go on Peacock and watch it back.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing about content now, except for the streaming prices are insane. They're outrageous.
Yes. Everything's insane anymore, man. It's wild.
It is wild. It is wild, man. So Corey, I definitely appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun, and we got to do a part 2 at some point. Maybe delve deeper into sports and all kinds of stuff. For the next one.
I'm down for sure.
And if you guys want to watch this episode, it'll be on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and every other major podcasting outlet out there. I also started broadcasting the episodes on Twitch and on LinkedIn as well because I have a quite of a mix of a demographic over there on LinkedIn. So that way people can start watching it too. And we'll see you for the next one. And thanks again, Corey.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun, man, and hope to see you again.
Yep, down for it.